We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles. So now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
we the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our Lazy Boy furniture.
Lazy Boy, long live the lazy.
When storms start to blow and danger strikes, we come together to face any challenge as a community. And when trouble hits our county, HCFL Alert is your #1 source for information. HCFL Alert is with you before, during, and after the storm. To sign up, visit hcfl.gov/HCFL Alert so we know how and when to notify you about local emergencies. The safest way through bad weather is together.
Time, weather, and...
How you doing, everybody? I'm Chief Meteorologist Denis Phillips. Heat, still the hot topic of weather conversation, right?
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Denis Phillips Live, brought to you by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries, Long Live the Lazy, and by HCFL Alert.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Tuesday night edition of Denis Phillips Live. We obviously got a lot to talk about with the weather that we've had today. Flash flood warning now in Manatee and Sarasota County. This is often when we get new people who come in who aren't part of our original core group or folks who have become part of our DPL family over the years. And before we jump into the weather, I always like to share this story. I went at the Crooked Thumb a couple of weeks ago. We had our meet and greet. And by the way, thanks to everybody who showed up at Lucan's in Dunedin on Saturday for the meet and greet as well. Crooked Thumb brought some of their 4-packs of the Roll Number 7 beer over. A lot of people showed up. We had a lot of lines as well. It was a great time and different vibe than it was over the Crooked Thumb, but still it was just great to see people who I didn't get a chance to meet at the Crooked Thumb come over and say hi. But it really struck me a couple of weeks ago, and I told this story before, but I think it's good for the new folks. So we don't just talk weather here. There's often chats within this chat about whatever it is y'all want to talk about. And I sometimes participate and sometimes I miss it because the questions just fly right by. But we had a woman who, she came by, I don't know, maybe she was in her mid-20s, and she mentioned that she moved here 3 years ago. When she moved here, she didn't know anybody, and she was really to the point of being really depressed about just not knowing anybody, was here by herself. And she found our chat group, and she literally felt as though that she had a family because she would come here on Tuesdays and Thursdays and any other night that we had going, and she'd have somebody to talk to. And it was a genuinely nice bunch of people that cared about each other, that looked out for each other's welfare. And she even said, I'm not on it as much anymore because, you know, I have other things going on in my life right now, but I just want to thank you and thank everybody who's in that group for helping me through a really dark time. And I just thought that was awfully amazing and really heartwarming that this group that we have here, some of us that have been doing this for now over 10 years, not on Facebook Live. We started on Ustream and Procaster and whatnot. And it's just kind of turned in. And that was back in the day when you could play music and you wouldn't get flagged on Facebook, or, you know, you could do movie quote trivia or whatever the case may be without running into problems. But I just wanted to thank the folks who've been here. And for the new people, you know, some people, it may not be their cup of tea. They just want the forecast. Well, you know what? That's why you got Alexa. Hey, Alexa. I don't have an iPhone, or I don't even have Amazon here. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Siri. You know, is it going to rain? If that's all you want, this is not your spot. Flat out, it just isn't. You'll get frustrated. But if you like the banter and you like hearing what's going on in our lives on a personal level as well as the forecast, and I would still like to say one of the more accurate forecasts you'll see out there, this is your spot. Speaking of accurate forecasts, where are all that? I'll believe it when I see it, folks. I'll believe it when I see all that rain because it's not going to happen. 8 inches of rain later at my house, 10 inches of rain later in Sarasota, and today is day one. Day one. There's 3 more days going on. It's an interesting forecast, and I noticed on this, who was it? Let's see, where was the comment? Somebody said they noticed the low, here you go, Jake. Said you can see it trying to ramp up to a low-level circulation. It's trying to make a run as a tropical depression. Right there, that is the key to this forecast. How quickly does this low center move across the state and move into the Atlantic, taking the moisture along with it? It's a very interesting question, and we're going to talk about that coming up in a minute. By the way, Colorado State today, I give them much props. They doubled down on their forecast. Look, it's early in the season. The fact that we have not had a named storm, who cares? It's still very early. It's not even in the middle of the month yet. So, but they did double down saying, yep, we're still calling for 20 whatever, I think 23 named storms. The numbers have not changed from earlier on, nor should they, because we all know it's going to be a very active hurricane season. What we don't know is where those hurricanes are going to go. But as I've said, I'm on the record as saying I think the odds are higher in the Panhandle westward and in the Outer Banks of the Carolinas and on the East Coast from South Carolina to the Outer Banks. I think that's where the probability of landfalling storms is higher this year due to a lot of features going on that I see, not to mention the intensifying storms with all the warm water in the Gulf and in the Caribbean would make it more likely, granted, maybe a minute increase in odds, but still more likely that you're going to have a landfalling hurricane up in the Panhandle West as opposed to one turning in. But let's get into that in a second. I do want to do some hellos, and then we will jump into a very active pattern. Anna Maria, good to see you as always. Jules, Bridget. I'm surprised Bridget has not commented. I did my Jimmy Stewart impersonation, which was not a Jimmy Stewart, but that's my naysayer impersonation. A guy said he's got it right. And that's apparently a Jimmy's, which honestly, now that I hear it, it does kind of sound like Jimmy Stewart. And if you're too young for Jimmy Stewart, it's a guy who was in It's a Wonderful Life. Hopefully you've seen that Christmas classic. He's had a lot of other movies as well, Philadelphia Story, and the one where he was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Lots and lots of movies. But yeah, apparently that's the Jimmy Stewart voice. Anyway, we've got Leisha in Polk County. Leisha, how you doing? As always, good to see you. Julie in Seminole, Stephen in Clearwater, John in Lakeland. There it is. Where is all the rain in Lakeland, John? It'll get there. There was rain in Lakeland. Matter of fact, earlier this week, Lakeland had a ton of rain and we didn't have any. So how about sharing the wealth, shall you? There's a lot more on the way. Day one, that's all it is. Prudy, how are you? Good to see you. Say hi to your lovely daughter. As always, we have got Kara in Sarasota getting hammered. Oh, yes, they are. They are certainly getting hammered. Let's go ahead and jump in. We've talked enough. Let us jump into what is going on right now. Now, first of all, we have a flash flood warning for southern Manatee and Sarasota County. I'm just going to go over to this here and take these graphics full and make it a little easier for you. So this is the area where there's the flash flood warning, okay? Right there in the green box. And you've got some lightning with it, but typically in an atmosphere that is moisture laden as this is, you see less lightning and less severe weather and more tropical downpours. Now I'm going to get into something somewhat sciencey here, but that is what we do from time to time. All right, so there is something in the atmosphere known as precipitable water, PWs, all right? Precipitable water, okay? And it's the PWs. So, precipitable water. Now, in the month of June, what we have right now is a PW of about 2.6, which is one of the highest that I have ever heard of in the month of June. So in other words, the atmosphere is, say it with me, very juicy, right? It is a juicy atmosphere out there, moisture-laden, saturated atmosphere. So it doesn't take as much for us to get very heavy rainfall totals. Now, how many of y'all were mocking the forecast last week when it was 10 to 20 inches in South Florida and south of I-4? Well, you know what? It's already been 10 inches in day one in Sarasota with more to come. When you get this kind of a juiced atmosphere and then you throw in low pressure, you got all the ingredients out there for development. But you don't normally see a lot of thunderstorms when you have such a juiced atmosphere, okay? So that is just one of those little things that you kind of remember. Thank you, Nick. Nice to see you. So there is your flash flood warning until 10 o'clock. It's for south central Manatee County, northwestern Sarasota County. Heavy rain in the warned area. Between 3 and 6 inches of rain have fallen. Additional rainfall amounts of 2 to 3 inches are possible in the warned area. And again, we have seen some reports over 10 inches already. Impact: flash flooding of small creeks and streams, urban areas, highway streets and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage in low-lying areas. Some locations that will experience flash floods include Sarasota, St. Armand's Key, Southgate, South Sarasota, Ridgewood Heights, North Sarasota, Southgate Bridge, Kensington Park, Sarasota Springs, Sarasota Bradenton Airport, Gulf Gate Estates, The Meadows, Lake Sarasota, Bradenton Beach, DeSoto Lake, Bee Ridge, Fruitville, Turtle Beach, Vamo, and Bayshore Gardens. So there you have that, all right? There is your flash flood warning until 10 o'clock. The rains have ended. The folks at the Threshers, Jason, the GM over at the Threshers, texted me about an hour ago and said, Dennis, I think we can get the game in? I'm like, yes, go for it. So they cleared the field, put the tarp on, took it off, and now they are playing baseball, even with all that rain today, in Clearwater. But we already looked at this area. We don't want to look at this one again. We already looked at this. So let's look at the bigger picture and look at the rainfall totals. Okay, here we go. Look at the legend on the top and look at, this is the rainfall amounts today. It says last 24, but it's really been today. The dark green, there's a couple of areas that didn't get any rain. Most did. As much as you wanted? No, but it's day one. We got a long way to go, my friends. Dark green, 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of rain. Lime green, look at your area. So look where you live or look where you're interested in. Lime green, 1/2 an inch to an inch. Dark blue, 1 to 2 inches. Light blue, 2 to 3 inches. Dark purple, 3 to 4 inches. This is what we've had today. This is not the forecast. Light purple, 4 to 5 inches. Maroon, 5 to 6. Orange, 6 to 7. Yellow, 7+ inches of rain. So this is my backyard, literally 7 inches of rain today. Palm Harbor, Tarpon Springs, Holiday, 7 inches of rain, 7 to 8 actually. Palm Harbor down to Countryside, 4 inches of rain. Dunedin, 4 to 5 inches of rain. And yet look what happens when you hit Gulf to Bay and you go to South Pinellas County. 1/2 an inch to an inch, some less. I mean, look at that dividing line. It's crazy. But that is Florida for you. The northern half of Pinellas and southwestern Pasco, nearly 7 inches of rain. The southern half of Pinellas County, 7/10 of an inch of rain. Absolutely insanity. There's some other areas. Newport Richey, 4 to 5 inches of rain. Port Richey, and then north, Bayonet Point, 7/10 of an inch. Hudson picked up about an inch of rain, 1.5 inches of rain actually. Okay? Carrollwood picked up about an inch of rain. Actually, no, 2.7 inches of rain. I lied. So just east of Carrollwood, nearly 3 inches of rain. Temple Terrace, 1 inch of rain. Carrollwood, 1.7 inches of rain. Lutz, 1.6. Citrus Park, 2.1. Oldsmar, 2.7. Trinity, actually Trinity's over there, and they got close to 3 to 4 inches of rain. Then you go to Hernando County. Spring Hill, about 2 inches of rain, 1.5 inches of rain. Dade City, on the east side, not as much, but Dade City actually still ended up getting 1.5 inches of rain. Citrus County, not as much, and then you get that bullseye offshore. Some of the heaviest, right there. Actually, I used to live right there. Right there is where the heaviest was, and that's where the 6.7 was. So there you have it. That is a look at what we had today. Okay? Numbers in Sarasota right now. The holy moly words come out of my mouth on this one. Sarasota has picked up between 7 and 10 inches of rain. There's your 10 right there. And it's still raining heavily. All right, so let's look at the forecast. All right, temperatures right now, we finally had a cooler day with all the cloud cover. Temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s. Okay. 80 degrees and cloudy skies right now at the airport in Tampa. There's a look from Rivergate Tower, looking over there with a little bit of clearing, maybe in the distance out to the west. Now, you look at the little swirl. I want you to look west of Manatee County, right there. See that little swirl? That's what Jake was talking about. Are we trying to get a low-level circulation? How you doing, Danielle? So the entire key to this forecast is how long will we be looking at this low before it goes across the state? And that is a very difficult question to answer. And I'm going to show you two things. I want you to look at the HRRR model, all right? The high-resolution model. And I want you to see what the high-resolution model does with this low overnight. Now, it is the only one that does this, but it still does it. I'm looking for it, by the way, as we're speaking. I cannot find it. You see how many unread emails I have? Well, my workstation here is just as bad with 11 billion thumbnails. All right, here we go. So here's the rapid refresh. Now I want you to look at the swirl. Look what it does. The HRRR moves it across the state tonight. See the swirl? See that swirl right there? See that? Brings it inland and across the state by tomorrow. And then a trailing moisture feed down across the southern counties and then all the way down. So if that were to happen, the rain tomorrow would be almost exclusively south of I-4 and then following along that moisture plume as that low moves into the Atlantic. Okay? That is your HRRR model. Now, if you look at the graph, which, by the way, did a really nice job with this morning. I was talking to Greg. He's like, the graph blew up the rain. He goes, I didn't want to use it, though, because it just didn't look realistic. And he was right. I don't know. I would have used it either. He was right. I mean, 8 to 10 inches of rain. You're like, no way. All right, so here's a look at the graph. And, yeah, see, it keeps everything out to the west. I was going slow. I went faster quickly just to look at it myself. All right, so there's tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. What will happen tomorrow is rain will set up again like it did today, not as necessarily as widespread or as heavy, but you will have some areas wherever those boundaries, and see, this is the key to Florida's weather and why it makes it so tricky. You got all these boundaries blowing in all these different directions. You've got the Gulf boundary, you've got the Bay boundary, you've got the boundaries from individual storms, and they're all going in different directions. When they bump into each other, identical. When they bump into each other, they create lift and you get rain. And you get sometimes downpours if there's not a lot of steering out there, which is what we've got. So you get these slow-moving, drenching rains across the area. And that's what happened today. So, thank you, Barbara. So there's a look at tomorrow. The heavier rain setting up south. Is that going to be right? I don't know. I mean, I'm inclined to say yes, but I'm also inclined to say there's going to be a couple more, a little more north, that'll pop up renegade showers that could cause some heavy rain. But again, look at what we have tomorrow. We have another area that develops. I'm going to go back, bloop, go back, and now we're going to go forward. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Those inland areas that did not get as much rain today should start to get some tomorrow. And as the low moves across the state, your rain will pick up. And Wednesday night, it tapers off. The atmosphere reloads, takes a breath, and starts again. And look at Thursday morning. Now, the graph keeps that main low out in the Gulf. It does not bring it across like the high resolution does. So that's going to be something we're going to have to watch overnight because the models will not pick. Okay, here's something else I want to talk about. Thank you, Wanda. All stars go toward Children's Miracle Network. I appreciate it. So I want to mention this. When you have a very weak and ragged system, a lot of times the models simply do not pick them up, and they do not do very well. High-resolution models are designed to pick up more ragged systems because they have higher resolution. They get down lower to the surface, in a sense. So instead of broad brushing something that you may miss a low-level circulation, a small one, high-resolution models theoretically should be more accurate with this kind of a setup because it is so little and so weak. So that's why I cannot write off that HRRR map graph that brings it across the state overnight. The graph does not. The RPM does not. But so that's what we're going to be watching into the overnight. Okay, so there's a look at Thursday. You see how a lot of the rain moves to the East Coast. So Juan asked about Daytona. So the more we get into the latter half of the week, the more you're going to see on the East Coast. But let's go back to what this map showed a week ago. A week ago, we showed you this map. And we're like, whoa, no way. Who's going to see 10 inches of rain out there? Well, they already have. So I believe it when you see it, crowd. Fail, right? Failure. So this is my point. Over a 4-day period of time, you're not going to get rain every day. You're not. You're not going to see heavy rain every day. You might see it 1 or 2 days. If you're like I said, in my backyard, I got 7.7 inches of rain today in about a 5-hour stretch. My backyard was more flooded than it ever was with Irma or Idalia. So, and I didn't expect that in northern Pinellas, but that's where these boundaries set up. So when you see the overall forecast, which this is the current forecast, by the way, from the Weather Prediction Center, still calling for heavy rains in those areas for the next 3 or 4 days. But it's really going to boil down to when that low comes across and finally exits into the Atlantic. What low is he talking about, you ask? All right, let's show you. This gets us through. There's your rainfall forecast. Notice south of I-4 is still where the models continue to show. And I think this is the lesson learned. The overall widespread, heavy, more sustained rain will be south of I-4. But you can still get areas that popped up like they did in a much smaller area in northern Pinellas and southwestern Pasco. That's the perfect way to describe it. You're still going to get sustained, more widespread rains where the models are showing where the boundary is south of I-4, but that doesn't mean you can't have collisions and small bullseyes that can give you a ton of rain like we did today. All right? Once we get to the weekend, we're going to see more sun. The rain will start to taper off and the temperatures will climb back in the low 90s. There is the area that we are talking about. And by the way, I'm going to go on and see if the NHC has updated this for 8 o'clock yet. They have not. Well, 10% chance now. 10% chance in the next 48, 20% chance. So they've bumped it from a 0% chance to a 10% chance in the next 2 days as it moves across the state. So that's what it's all going to boil down to, my friends, when this low moves across the state. Because when it does, it's going to take the rain along with it. I don't think it's going to be cloudy all next week, Lake. I think we're back to normal next week. All right? So there's your forecast tonight. Look at what happens first thing in the morning. We do it all over again. Not in the same spot, but we start with those PWs at 2.6 or greater, the precipitable water, you are absolutely, and Kelly, no, you could absolutely have one of these pop up right on top of you tomorrow. That's the same thing that happened in my neighborhood today. I wouldn't go out on the water tomorrow. You'll be dodging raindrops. It's going to be a lame beach day, a lot of clouds all day, rain off and on, and there's the 7-day. I think you're still looking at rain on Friday in Clearwater Lake. So there it is. There is that 7-day. Now, when we look at tropical activity, I do want to briefly mention this for the folks who are on the streamers, who are out of here. I'm on vacation as of Friday, but only for 2 days. I'm off Friday and I'm off Monday. I'm going on the Margaritaville at Sea cruise on Friday with Ryan's softball team. So my daughter's softball team, we got a bunch of us, and you might have seen the story today on it. Looks like I'll tell you, it's an older ship that they purchased and completely renovated and revamped it, and a lot of people have been doing stories on it today. Looks pretty cool. And if you're looking for a cruise out of Tampa, worth checking it out, because I will tell you the price, and I've not gone on it yet, so I don't know what it's going to be like, but the prices are really, really reasonable. Like really reasonable. So I will give you a report when I get back on Tuesday how it was. Of course, we're going to be going right into some pretty nasty weather, so the weather's going to be lame. That I should have known better for that. I absolutely should have known better. So, but anyway, here I want you to look at quickly, all right? This is an update of the possibility of tropical development, and we do have a change. Next week, you're now looking at what is a greater than 40% chance of tropical development in the Bay of Campeche. That is the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. I will not drop my phone this time, hopefully, Bridget, because you're right. That was a nightmare in St. Thomas when I did that a few years ago. Boom, right on the, I tell this story over and over again, but whatever. I've got my phone, I'm on one of those little sailboats to go snorkeling, and I just somehow dropped it, hit the deck, and it just went bloop, right over the rail, bloop, bloop, right into the Atlantic Ocean, gone forever. So anyway, yeah, that was dumb. All right, so you notice next week there's a greater than 40% chance of development in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Odds are that would go into Texas. But that is next week. The following week, which, by the way, takes us into July, already in July, no tropical development expected. So it is going to be an active season, but I'll tell you what, if we're starting out as slow as we are, there's going to have to be some pretty frenetic development. I don't remember what I said to Paul, Bridget. What did I say? I don't remember. Remind me. I do not remember what I said to Paul. Paul's a buddy of mine. I've known Paul for 30 years. Paul's a good guy. But I don't remember that. Hey, yes, there will be dad shoes, Jessica. Of course there will be. So anyway, there's my point. This gets us into July, and it's conceivable that we will only have one named storm in the month of June, which is not unusual, but it is, I say it's not unusual, and I immediately think of Tom Jones. So Orlando at 7 o'clock, what day, Heather? Because it's already 7:30, and it's already 8 o'clock. So if I miss this forecast, that's impossible. I don't remember that. Could he help you out with the forecast? I do not remember him saying that, but I'm sure he did because Paul's a funny guy. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Yeah, I think you're going to be dodging some showers, but they will not be widespread. Miami Airport Sunday night, scattered showers. I don't expect any significant weather delays for flights. How about that? I don't expect any flight delays. How come this is not, oh boy, there it is. I do not expect significant flight delays because there's not going to be a lot of wind. All right? Drive-in on Saturday night. Saturday night, you will only be looking at scattered showers. So anyway, I will continue to answer questions on Facebook. But for the streamers, we're done in 10 seconds. So we'll be back again tomorrow night, DPL Plus. We're going to be interviewing an expert on hurricane kits. Tomorrow night at 7:30 on Denis Phillips Live Plus. Have a good night, streamers. Okay, so the streamers are gone, so I am now back. Sarasota tomorrow, 11 a.m. flight. I suspect there will be rain. You know, I guess the question is whether or not there will be delays from that rain. I know Mark's doing drive-in. Drive-ins are cool. I love drive-ins. I brought my kids to the drive-in. There was one on Hillsborough Avenue. I don't even know if it's still in business. But you turn on the radio and you watch the movie on the radio, and the sound quality is horrible because they're used to Dolby and IMAX and everything. But there's just something cool about sitting in your car and going in and getting popcorn and listening on your radio and watching the movie. I love that. I think it's fun. All right, so there's drive from Sarasota to Miami Thursday or Friday morning. I would go Thursday night as opposed to Friday morning, Sharon. I think the earlier in the morning you are, the more likely you're going to run into stuff. Funland, Sammy. Holy cow, Sammy's a blast from the past. I've not seen your name on the chat in forever. I've known Sammy on Facebook for over a decade, but I've not seen you on the chat. So Sammy must be just lurking. And the Ruskin drive-thru, I've never went to the Ruskin drive-thru, Maya, but I'm familiar with it. Anna Maria next week, I think we're back to more normal afternoon and evening storms next week. I am very confident that this will open the door to the summer pattern. This stokes the atmosphere, right? You get all this moisture building, you get all this rain that's absorbed, you get everything out there, and it just has a tendency to feed on itself and give us more thunderstorms as we get into July and August. So I think we are right on pace to see what should be a very normal and active summer rainy season. And that is what we need. Veronica, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh, you're on Instagram. I don't go on Instagram hardly ever, Sammy. Like, never. And I should, because I know a lot of people go on Instagram, but I don't know. I've had problems with it. In fact, I had problems with my Instagram account. I don't think I ever got it fixed. I think I can still post, but I think I was in Instagram jail for a while, just like I was in Facebook jail, for sharing an ABC News story about snow. Never forget that one. I shared an ABC Network news story about snow in Texas, and I got put in Facebook jail for like 30 days. For the life of me, I don't understand that. Okay. Yes, lots of sun for Anna Maria Island next week, Rhonda. Lots and lots of sun. Yeah, let's go back and look at Sarasota quickly, because they still have a flash flood warning in effect. I don't think there's really going to be power outages, Steve. How you doing, my friend? All right, so here's a look at Sarasota. Still that flash flood warning in that area in green right there until 10 o'clock. See how much rain they've had in the last 3 hours. Yikes. So in the whoa. How about that? Sarasota in the last 3 hours, and just west of Sarasota, has had 8 inches of rain in the last 3 hours. 8 inches of rain. Stand by. My son Josh is calling me. Josh, I'm on DPL. I am. But what's up? You have a weather-related question. Okay. My son Josh says hello, everyone. Where are you? Are you at the Threshers game? Yeah, they called me and asked if they should play. Like Jason texted, you should have called me. I would have set you up. Awesome. So my son Josh, who just turned 21, it's dollar beer night at the Threshers game right now. No, you're fine. I'm looking at the. Let me look. Hold on. Stand by. I don't think it is. No, it's not going to rain. No, you're good. I will tell their general manager. Where are you sitting? Oh, you're walking around. Okay. Okay. All right. Josh says hi, everybody. Have fun at the game. I love you. Bye. Okay. That is my son, Josh. He just turned 21. So dollar beer night's a big thing for him. I get it. All right. So let's go back to Sarasota. 8 inches of rain in the last 3 hours. Holy moly. Let's go in and zoom into this again. 3 hour rainfall. Right there. So if you live right in that area in yellow, right there, you have had 8 inches of rain in the last 3 hours. So Sarasota is getting pummeled, as is Siesta Key, where my in-laws live. So that's where they live, and they've had 6 inches of rain. So there is flooding going on. There's a flash flood warning in effect. Again, why? Because PWs are 2.6 or greater. The atmosphere is completely juiced, and there is a lot of heavy rain, and a flash flood warning remains in effect. Let me go on the chat from the Weather Service. Oh, thank you very much, Melissa. It's very kind. Let me look at the Weather Service's chat, see if they have anything going on here. Flooding near McIntosh and Bahia Vista in Sarasota. Reports of water getting into cars almost covering fire hydrants 3 miles west-southwest of Sarasota. So there's a couple of spots that's not good. Here, I'll read you their update. A weak low pressure centered just offshore Manatee, Sarasota, which is what we were saying, is leading to a corridor of heavier rain in Sarasota. Between 3 and 6 inches of rain has fallen, with widespread reports of flooding in the area. This heavy rain will shift to the southeast over the next hour or two. Then overnight, a diminishing trend is expected in terms of coverage of rain and storms, especially across Tampa Bay. On and off activity will continue for southwest Florida through the overnight period. Overall forecast remains unchanged, with the heaviest rainfall amounts through Saturday centered across Lee and Charlotte counties, where a flood watch is currently in effect. So they too are going with the models. It is Snoopy. Yes, it is. They too are going with the models. Someone said that 75 is closed in parts because of flooding. I have not heard that. Hey, guys on the assignment desk, have you guys heard if 75 is closed because of flooding at all? I hear crickets. So I don't know. Either that means they're on dinner break, or the answer is no, I guess. Saturday, I think you will see improvements in Atlanta. I think, look, I think starting on Saturday, Anna Maria this weekend, in all caps, Cimarron in all caps. So I'm not going to answer just because it's all caps, because that's yelling at me, and I don't want to be yelled at. All right? All you have to say is, please, and then I would answer it. Mike, how's it going, man? Anyway, look, I'm going to answer. Starting this weekend, it is back to our classic summertime pattern, which means sunshine early, clouds building in the afternoon, scattered storms right through the period. So once we get toward the end of June and July and August, okay, Cimarron says that they love me, so I guess it's okay. All right. So what did they ask? Now that she professed her love, I will go ahead and answer it now. Where did you want? Anna Maria Island this weekend. Okay. So all you have to do starting Saturday is assume it'll be sunny and humid in the morning, and we're going to get late day and early evening storms. Now, you guys know those late day and early evening storms can be really strong, right? And bring a lot of rain. That is when we get the majority of our rain for the year. But what we're not going to see is the all-day rains like we had today, which, again, if you're just tuning in, Mike, in case you didn't notice, we did have all-day rains today, with the exception of a couple of spots. But Mike lives in Oldsmar. He had just shy of 3 inches. I live in Palm Harbor. I had 8 inches. So, you know, what do you think? Let us see. Anything else? Any other questions? Yep, I think we're definitely more into that east to west pattern, Steve. I do. South Florida update for Wednesday and Thursday. Danielle, South Florida is going to get a lot of rain on Wednesday and Thursday. Here, let me show you. Since you asked, let me show you where is this map? I'm so bad at saving maps. All right, this is a look. So there you go. That's the overall rain potential. South Florida, certainly, they're going to get 4 to 6 inches of rain. I would say it's a pretty good number. You're very welcome, Mike. Usually pretty accurate. I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. Maybe. Is that intended to be a compliment? I'm not sure. Vero Beach, same thing. 2 to 4 inches of rain probably in Vero, actually. All right, until the low starts moving across. Stand by. Going back to the rain. There's the rain. Okay. I don't know where Venieri is, Rick. I don't even know where that is. Pasco, where's the rain, Marine? Marine. 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 Do you not see Holiday and Newport Richey and all the way up to Hudson now? And then there's Pasco. Do you not see rain all of Pasco County, including 8 inches in Holiday and 2 to 4 in Hudson and Bayonet Point and Newport Richey? So there is the rain in Pasco County, okay? And then there's the rain in Sarasota. Wowza. That is some yikes. That is some, holy cow, they've had a foot of rain. Sarasota's had a foot of rain. Yeah, Ashley, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Not so sure you're going to get that. Clayton, am I going to have to prove you wrong, Clayton? Clayton. I will admit, Hernando did not get as much because it's north of I-4. But Brooksville did get rain. But you know what? Areas just off to your north didn't. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's that little gap. That's no good. But, and unfortunately, alas, unfortunately, there are going to be areas that are just not going to get much. And then the next day, you hope it evens it out. And that is our hope, that everybody evens it out. Okay? Yeah. So, but remember, we did say I-4 South is going to get the heaviest rain. And if you didn't hear that, and you were watching somebody else, I got no sympathy for you. Because if you're not watching us or following us on DPL or on social, I don't know where, you know, I don't know where you get your stuff. Pinellas tomorrow. Yeah, not nearly as active as it was today. Tomorrow, the coverage will be less than it was today, but there will still be some spots that are going to set up early with some really good rainfall totals, just like today, because the PWs are still 2.6 or 2.7. The precipitable water levels are honestly higher than I think I've ever seen in the month of June. So the atmosphere is completely juiced, right? Ton of moisture in it. So it doesn't take much for that to turn into rain. Wendy, that is when the light comes through the clouds at a particular angle and whatnot that causes the sunlight to be filtered out at a certain color scheme, if you will. So that's why sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's green if there's a big storm coming. North Pinellas on Thursday. You're going to get some rain, but it ain't going to be like it was today, Crystal. I mean, again, this is day one. It's a 4-day deal, right? I'll show you Futurecast again. Kathy, you are correct. Hashtag juicy. Here, let me show you Futurecast again, because some people wanted. Spring Hill, again, Hernando and Citrus, you're not going to see as much. You're just not. The boundary is set up south of you. That's unfortunate for those northern counties. That is unfortunate. Let's go ahead and look at Futurecast here. Let me go ahead and take this full so you can see it better. Okay. All right, here we go. Apology accepted, Cimarron. I see that name and it reminds me of the movie, you know, Cimarron the Spirit Horse thing. It's spelled differently, but it was like that. You know, Michelle Branch had that song that I used to love from that movie. Okay. So here we go. Let's go ahead and do hour by hour. Here we go. Watch the area you're interested in, and we're going to go hour by hour for you. Now, let me preface something before I go hour by hour for you. Okay, I want to be on here for this. What's going on here? I think it's not working. This is going to blow up. The computer's about to blow up. I know it. All right. This is a very weak low-level system. The models don't do a particularly good job pinpointing specifics and timing with this. They just don't. The overall forecast, the best rain chances are south of I-4. Those smaller areas that'll pop up and sit over a place for 3 or 4 hours are almost impossible to predict. No, they're not almost impossible. They are impossible to predict. You cannot pinpoint those little spots. You can pinpoint where the main area of rain is going to set up, which is going to be I-4 southward. And then there will be a few spots, like there were today, that are going to get dumped on, but overall, the larger area of coverage is going to be better across south of I-4. Now, I'm going to show you hour by hour. So this is 10 o'clock tonight, 11 o'clock. It's going to wind down overnight. You know, even with a southerly flow, though, I mean, look, it still brings in some rain around 3 a.m. Look at that. So you're looking at morning rain, but look at where most of it is. Look at the line, I-4 south. That's not to say there won't be a few things pop up north, but the majority of the rain is going to be right in that area. See that? That's 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. So areas south are going to, and there you go again. By lunchtime, Sarasota County, they're going to get 20 inches of rain out of this. Before this is all said and done, I would not be surprised if Sarasota picks up 20 inches of rain. They've already had 10 today they've had 12 today, for heaven's sakes. That's not even going out on a limb. Then, you know, you see a few that try to pop up in the afternoon, more north. That's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then they swing back around. But overall, and then this is Thursday morning. Now, Thursday, I think it might even be a little more active. See, look at the morning hours. This is day 3. But you don't see a lot past go north because the boundary is set up south. See that? Friday, same thing. And then it starts to pull away. So that is where we are. Now, tomorrow night, I am going to have let's see what that storm report is. Hold on. Tomorrow night, we are going to have a DPL Plus episode at 7:30. We're going to be interviewing some experts on preparing a hurricane kit. But of course, I'm also going to go over the weather as well. Reports of water getting into cars, almost covering fire hydrants, Siesta Key. That was what that thing I read from the Weather Service a minute ago on their Slack channel. And video of cars stuck in flooded streets in downtown Sarasota. So that's what's happening right now. Some serious rain south of I-4, which is kind of what we were saying all along. Wait a minute. Who's going to be in the Margaritaville cruise? Because I'm going on Friday, so I will see you. Who is that? They can come find me. Where are they? Oh, Danielle. I am going to be on that same cruise, so I will see you. My daughter's softball team is going, so we will see you there. Well, it'll be interesting to see how, because it's a smaller ship compared to the Oasis-class ships, so it will be interesting. Multiple water rescues, houses, water damage, impassable in Sarasota County. Thank you for that, Tampa Bay News Alerts. I'm sure I will. Oh, Angel, are you going to be on the cruise too? We're going to have a big old party. Everybody's going on this cruise. Okay. Yes, find me, Danielle. I will be with all the little girls with their softball uniforms. I will be the chaperone more than likely. So I'll be running around with them. And it's not a huge ship, so I'm sure we will see each other. So Angel and Danielle, we will see you. All right. Friend sent me a video. He lives by the Sarasota airport. Looks like water over there. They didn't pull. What? It disappeared because it's. Oh, wow. Sammy's going on the Utopia. Sammy's going on the Oasis. The Oasis-class ships. Those things are big. Mike, put me in your suitcase. Yeah, it's. Okay. Somebody wants to know where I-4 is. Yeah, it's the road that goes from Tampa to Orlando. It's right, it's the yellow one. See the yellow? Watch this. See it? Oops, hold on, stand by. There's I-4. Okay? So if we look at current rain, man, it's coming down. So most of the rain for the next few days, not all of it, but the majority will be south of I-4. So it'll kind of be like that area, and that area, and that area. There's still going to be some rain in this area, but not as much. Kind of looks like the alien ship from War of the Worlds. So you got the little windows there, the little guys, and wanted to make a frowny face. Made that. Okay, there you go. I just amuse myself on these ridiculous stuff. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Renee, that's a tough call. If it's St. Pete, you're south of I-4. If it's Tarpon, you're north of I-4. So you know what? It could be both. Don't you think? Eastlake did not miss the rain today. Laura, have you lost your mind? Mrs. Laura Gray? Come on. Here, let's look. Let's look at how much Eastlake had. See, I just think people you're just trying to get under my skin. I know it. I know it. All right, let's look at Eastlake. Okay, let's load it up here. Yeah, okay. What are you talking about to not get rain? Eastlake got 4 inches of rain today. Come on. 6 inches. Seriously, you're just messing with me. I know you are. I know you are just messing with me. All right, I want to hit Mrs. Laura Gray. I want to see your response to this one. Okay, I want an explanation. That's what I want. Sarasota, I know. Yeah, well, Kara, yeah. I mean, you've already had 12 inches. I'm just joking with Mrs. Laura Gray. But, come on. You got 4 to 6 inches of rain today. So not always, clearly. Because barely, and I didn't mean it that way. I mean, this is as much rain as we should barely ever. Well, today you did. There it is. 4 to 6 inches of rain. Okay. Let's see, what else do we got here? You know what? You're exactly right, Casey. I have seen in Florida, she might not have got rain at her house. It's possible. No, it is not possible. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, but look, I mean, come on. All right. Courtney, how you doing? Yeah, Elfers gets it a lot, and then the rivers start to flood. This is not a drought buster, Jake, not yet. Because, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of Pinellas only got 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Clearwater South only got 1/2 inch to 1 inch. It was that small area that you see there from Eastlake to Landsbrook to Trinity to Palm Arbor to Tarpon Springs to Countryside to Dunedin that got really, really heavy rain. Oh, Alex, just stop. Now, Largo did not get as much as areas north did, but you still got 1/2 inch of rain. Cubs are up 1-0. Thank you, Adam. All right. So yes, that is an area of low pressure out there. It absolutely is. And like I was telling you, there's the chance that low could come across and end this rain a lot sooner than the forecast. And here's the high resolution. Here's the HRRR. I mean, look at the swirl. Look where that goes. That goes right across the state tonight. Now, most of the models aren't showing that, but I want to show you something. So let's say, for argument's sakes, that it does. Okay, don't worry about the names here because I'm just showing this to show you where the moisture goes. Let's say it goes across. Look at where that moisture feed goes, all the way across the state and into the Gulf. Okay? So if the low goes across tonight, there's still going to be a lot of rain in the southern counties tomorrow. It's just that, see the feed? See that feed? See that? The low center is right here, east, like near the Cape, but the moisture plume extends across those southern counties. So there it is. Okay. No name storm was a winter storm, Renee. That was in March. And that was a non-tropical storm. Yes, there was 6 inches of rain in Odessa. Yes. Bob says they got a couple of sprinkles in Treasure Island. They did not get nearly as much in southern Pinellas as northern. Obviously, as you see right here. Come on, load computer. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one. Yeah. So let's look at Treasure Island, since Bob says they got a couple of sprinkles. Bob, you know, you're right. You probably got a half an inch or less. So, unfortunately, areas south of Clearwater, not so much. But boy, north of Clearwater, including my backyard, I got like 7 inches of rain. Not bragging, just stating the fact that I got 7 inches of rain. Okay. Adam got 2.85 in Carrollwood, so there you go. That is about it. Let's see, anybody else? I think we still got 500 people. We're just, I don't know. I mean, I'll be happy to answer your questions. I will be happy to answer your questions. Dan, how you doing? Yes, Dan is a Mike follower because that is see, I'm going to talk about something, Mike. I know you were here, and if you're not here, let's talk about it. Mike has been on my page for a long time. We've been doing chats since 2004, 2005. Mike, as I did when I was starting out, my mentor in meteorology was Bob Ryan. Bob Ryan was a meteorologist at WRC in Washington, D.C. The guy was just awesome. He was president of the AMS. I mean, the guy was just a brilliant meteorologist and a really, really good on-air guy. And one of his expressions that he would always use on a forecast that he wasn't sure about, he would, like, especially a snow forecast, he would go and he would say, he would give the forecast, he would say, I think there's going to be 6 inches of snow. He says confidently. That was the little thing that he says, which meant he was not confident at all. But he would use the expression, he says confidently, hoping that he's going to be right. Well, Mike has been on our chat group for a long time. And don't let Mike tell you that calling things were blobs was his thing. No. Blobs were my thing, and they have been my thing for 20 years. And Mike knows that. Spinach is Mike's thing. Absolutely. Mike came up with a little spinach thing. And by the way, juicy was also my thing. So I'm just telling you, all right? Spinach was his. And there's another one that he does. He calls it middle instead of central, which I've noticed. And I find that interesting. Like, he will not say the middle Gulf or the central Gulf. He'll say the middle. And I think that's on purpose. And I kind of like it because it's, you know, it's very conversational. So anyway, I have no idea how we got into this conversation, but that's what it was. Let us see. This is, okay, yeah, I'll answer your question. If you guys got questions, I'm going to go ahead and answer them. Let us see. Mike was here. Oh, there. See, Mike, he admitted it. He admitted it right there. LOL, you got me. So, as I said, I know, because we've known each other for 20 years, and people think like, oh, they don't like each other. Mike's a great guy. I mean, Mike's a great guy. He's turned a hobby into a profession, and we talk, I mean, literally, we text each other and talk on the phone all the time. So anybody who thinks like we're not buddies is not true. But that doesn't mean we don't call each other out at times, right? So yes, Mike's is spinach and not spinach. And central middle instead of central, which I like that. Again, mine is blob and juicy. Don't even start saying, because somebody actually said that to me. Why are you taking Mike's words or whatever? I'm like, lady, they were mine first. In fact, I was probably saying it before Mike was born. So anyway, okay, what else do we got? Do you need a life jacket? No, you do not, Michelle. Yep, and drunk, well, now you guys know the drunken donkey story. I know you know that. And if you don't, it's a fascinating story. I mean, it really is. And it started, by the way, with James Spann, who's a meteorologist and a very well-respected meteorologist. And I'll let Mike tell the story at some point. He can do that. But that didn't start with the girl in Savannah or wherever it was. If you know, you know. James Spann came out and said, any drunk donkey can show the Euro. That was his quote. And then she picked up on it, said it, and then it just turned into just a very, controversial thing. Yeah, Roy Leap, who's passed away recently, I mean, he's the dean of weather in this market. I mean, he is. I mean, Roy started back in the 50s when meteorology was in its infancy, and really, and Roy was quite a character as well, because Roy, as much of a scientist and a serious meteorologist he still had that little dog. He still dressed up a little dog every day and put it on the set, and people loved Scud. You know, Scud's a low-lying cloud. Roy dressed up. Scud had its own calendar with, dressing it up. So, I mean, let's be honest. Roy really is the dean of all deans of the Bay Area weather, and maybe you could argue one of the best in the country. But I got to tell a story. I mean, now we've passed weather time. We're not doing streaming anymore. So I'm going to tell you a story about Roy. And it's funny, and it's not necessarily a flattering story, but I got to tell you anyway. I was working at KCBS in Los Angeles, all right? And Kathy Unruh was an anchor with me in my first TV job. Kathy anchored at Channel 13 back in the 80s, 90s. And I've known Kathy since my first job. So I came to Tampa to visit for some reason. I can't remember. I don't think I was interviewing for here. Don't think so. But anyway, I came here, and I had always wanted to see their weather center, because that weather center was a very well-known weather center. Roy just did it up, right? They have a magazine called Weatherwise Magazine. It was featured in that magazine 40 years ago, right? So, I mean, it was a thing, and I wanted to see it. And I wanted to see Kathy. So when I flew in from LA to Tampa, Kathy's like, Dennis, do you want to come over and see the studio? I'm sure. And I was working at KCBS in Los Angeles at the time. So I go in, and she, takes me around, and she starts to show me, and I met Howard Shapiro and Paul. I think Paul wasn't there, but Howard was there. And Kathy goes up to Roy, and she's showing me around, and Roy comes up, and he comes up to her, and he's like, who is this guy? And she's like, oh, this is Denis Phillips, he's the meteorologist at KCBS in Los Angeles. Roy looks at Kathy and says, we can't have any stragglers around here, he has to leave. It's a true story. And I'm like, oh, that was before I had developed attitude. I was still young. I was like 22, 23, 24. 24, I guess. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So I left. And so Roy, walked away, proud guy that he was. And Roy retired in 97. This was obviously before he retired. This would have been in 93, or 94, I guess. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, I'll leave. So I left, and then Roy walked away. So Howard Shapiro comes over to me, and he's like, hey, come here. He said, do you want to see the weather? Do you want to see the Weather Channel? And I'm like, the weather? I'm like, I don't know, I'll get in trouble. He's like, nah, I'll show you. So Howard comes in, and he brings it, and he shows me around. And he said, just don't tell God, because that was apparently the nickname for Roy. I'm like, no, I won't tell anybody. But I'll never forget, because the only time I ever met Roy, we got to have stragglers like this on the weather, because he took his weather center seriously. And you know what? Hey, I got nothing but respect for the man. As I said, he is a dean of weather in this market. I don't think there's anybody who's ever going to have the kind of tradition and legend status that man had. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to look at the weather center because I was a lowly meteorologist in Los Angeles at KCBS. So there you go. That was it. Yeah, I'm familiar, Dennis. I'm familiar. So anyway, that was it. That was my Roy Leap story. But I did see the Weather Center. It was awesome. And, like I said, look, we're very lucky in this market. We've got a lot of great Mets. I've known Paul for 30 years. Bobby Deskins is a great guy. I don't know Jeff over at Channel 8. I know of him. But I know Josh Linker over at Bay News 9, good guy. So, I mean, point is, you know, a lot of us have been here for a long time and we know each other and respect each other. And but Roy was, I would argue, Roy was the legend of Tampa Bay weather. I mean, he really was. So, anyway, yeah, no stragglers. I was a straggler. Yes, I was, Bonnie. Yes, and Kathy Unruh. Kathy's face was just so embarrassed. Dennis, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's all right. Because I was, again, if you had said that to me when I was 10 years older or 15 years older, there might have been a brawl. But when I was a young kid, and I had nothing but respect for the guy. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to steal your secrets. So anyway, and yeah, Dick Fletcher. One of the highlights, Dick Fletcher was meteorologist chief at Channel 10. The Governor's Hurricane Conference has an award that they issue, the Dick Fletcher Memorial Award, and I won it the first year after he passed away. Dick was also a very, hardcore guy. I got into it with him. We're telling stories. I'm going to tell you 2 stories about Dick. Great story. But the one, I was in a panel discussion with Dick, and he was talking about how he hated people out covering the storms because, he was an old school traditional guy. And this was probably 2005, back after Charlie. And my take kind of was, I go, look, you don't have to twist our reporters' arms to go out there. Most reporters love covering these storms. It's an adrenaline rush. They get great video for their resume, demo reels and whatnot. It's just a thing. And not to mention, you are showing people what it's like. How is it any different from a war correspondent out in the middle of a war-torn area showing people at home what it's like in that area? And they're certainly risking their livelihood and their lives when they're covering wars. So I argue it's the same thing with hurricanes. You're letting people see what is going on in that storm. And yeah, you are putting yourself somewhat at risk, although now people are really, really careful. I mean, we've got a lot of photographers and satellite operators and whatnot that really know what they're doing and, work their way under certain conditions and protect themselves in certain areas to do it. But good night, Nancy. But anyway, so Dick and I kind of had it out a little bit. And I was the young kid. This was right after Charlie in 2004, and that was kind of when I made a name for myself. And he was, because Channel 10 had to go off the air because they had to evacuate their building because Charlie was coming, and they were somewhere on some remote site doing weather, and we were owning it. And that was really Hurricane Charlie was the storm with Don Gramez going live and us on the air for a long time that we really became a player in this market. But the other Dick Fletcher story, I love this one. Dick was an athlete. This guy was skinny. Like, I don't remember how tall he was. I don't remember him being obscenely tall, but maybe 5'11"-ish. Really, really skinny, but incredible athlete. Like a really great tennis player, okay? And I played baseball in college, and so I considered myself a pretty decent baseball player. And we played some charity games and whatnot. Well, there was a charity fast pitch softball game, and Dick played, and he, no lie, had a cigarette in his mouth when he went up to home plate to hit. It's a true story. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm thinking, he's 105 pounds. He's like Rudy. You're 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing, and you done got an athletic bone in your body. I mean, that was Dick Fletcher. But that guy could play. So anyway, I'm sitting there watching him as he walks up, and it was just fast pitch softball, and this girl was bringing it. I mean, if you've ever played fast pitch, it's not as easy as you think. I've played in a couple of charity games where Michelle Smith, who was an Olympic champion, and she struck out Wade Boggs. She struck out all these major league players. Funny story there, too. How do we get on these stories? Funny story there, too, because I played in one of these games, and I used the pity card. So when she was pitching, right, I walked up, and I'm like, look, I'm just a weatherman. Take it easy on me, okay? So she did, and she easily took 15, 20 miles an hour off that first pitch, and I crushed it to left center. And you should have seen her look on her face. I got to second base, and she's like, I want him back up again. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And she's like, no. I want him back up again. And so then the crowd starts going, go, Dennis. Like, I knew what was coming. So I'm like, all right. So I walked back up to home plate, and I got up there, and I'm not exaggerating. 3 straight pitches, I did not have that bat even remotely off my shoulders before that ball was already in the catcher's mitt. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, sit down. And she wouldn't let me go back to second base either. So at the end of the day, she was an amazing pitcher. But getting back to the other story with Dick Fletcher. So Dick Fletcher walks up to home plate, 5'0", 100-0, with not an athletic, I'm quoting Rudy, by the way, in case you don't know that, not an athletic bone in your body, with a cigarette in his mouth. And the first pitch, and this girl, again, was bringing it, crushed a ball to right center, and he tripled with the cigarette in his mouth as he ran the bases. I will never forget that moment. And the sad part about that story is he died of a stroke. And I mean, this is really the sad part about the story, because it was clearly a habit he couldn't kick. I mean, he had a stroke, and the doctor said, you got to lay off the cigarettes, you got to, and he couldn't do it. I was at a hurricane conference where he was there, and he was after this first stroke, and he was still smoking. He's like, I just can't kick this habit. And sure enough, he passed away from a stroke. But I will never, ever forget watching him quickly leg out a triple with a cigarette in his mouth. This is absolutely unbelievable. So anyway, that was my Dick Fletcher story. All right, I don't know how we got in this kind of topic of conversations, but that's kind of what we do on DPL sometimes. We definitely have some, some downtime. But right now, we'll do one more quick look at the radar, see how things are shaping up, and then we'll be back tomorrow night for DPL Plus, again, talking to some folks about the perfect hurricane kit and what you need to stay safe for that kit. There's a look at radar. It is beginning to wind down now in Sarasota. It's moving into eastern Sarasota, Manatee, DeSoto County, and Highlands. Let's take a quick look at the rapid refresh models. Let's see if anything has changed. They're updated hourly, so sometimes you get a good update. So yeah, tomorrow morning, you've still got your line right around I-4 south, and that's really where most of the rain is going to stack up. And that's kind of the way that it looks tomorrow. So, all right, guys. Well, have a great night. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30 with DPL Plus, and we'll be back as well on Thursday night with our next edition of Denis Phillips Live. Thanks for indulging me with story time. Hope you got some decent information and a little bit of entertainment value along with it. Have a great night. Hopefully we'll see you at 11 on ABC Action News tonight. We'll see you guys.